Do you want something fun for your dining room or bedroom but don't have the money or the patience for wallpaper? Hello, I'm Renee with Modern Homemakers, and today we're going to learn how to stencil. Don't freak out, it's not as hard as it looks. We use a stencil and basically you're just going to roll over and this is going to do all the hard work for you. So to paint with stencils, you're going to need some supplies. First off, you're going to need your stencil. This is an all over the wall stencil, and then I recommend that you also have the top stencil. This allows you to get close to the edges at the top by the ceiling. You're going to need at least two paints. Your base paint, which you paint on the wall first, and it has to be a flat paint. And then I just am doing one other color, so this is the color that I'm going to paint on top. It's best if you do flat. I did an eggshell just because I wanted just a tiny bit of gloss, but the flat would be even easier to work with, although this wasn't bad. I use plastic wrap and I cover my surfaces so that I don't get paint on them. You need some paper plates or styrofoam plates, but the paper plates are a little more earth friendly, so I usually use that. And a foam roller, and you can get replacements for this. I wrap my foam roller in plastic if I'm not finished with the whole project, I'll just wrap that in plastic and I can come back to it later. You don't have to wash it because, I'm all about the not washing that roller every time or ever. I just keep it for the whole project and then throw it away when I'm done. Then I use just a putty knife, and that's going to help me get into the edges a little bit better. This is something I just kind of learned on my own. I find it real helpful. And then brushes to get into areas, like I have one color that I'm going to keep for the base color. If I mess up and I have to fix something, then that color will fix that. And then this is the color, the silver color that I'm using. Blow dryer is going to help you dry the last stencil area you did so you can go to the next area quickly. And this painter's tape. So the painter's tape will be along any surfaces that you don't want painted. So if you look up at the wall, I have taped off the top edge and around the wainscoting and anything I don't want taped. And then also that tape is going to be used to tape the stencil to the wall as I'm painting. And this painter's tape, it'll come off real easy. And then at the same place at Cutting Edge Stencils where I got my stencils, I also got this level, and that just snaps on the top of the stencil, and that way I don't have to have a separate level, trying to juggle two things at once. This is just attached to the stencil. It makes it real easy to get a nice straight line with your stencil. And we are ready to go. So where to start? You want to pick a wall that is not like the main focal point whenever you walk in the room. So I knew I didn't want that wall there because that was the main thing that everyone would see when they walked into the room. I started here. In hindsight, and this is going to be okay, and then I went that way around that corner, and where I'm going to finish up is this corner over here. I've done like half, I came from that point over here. In hindsight, I wish I would have started in this corner. So this would have been the best corner for me to start, because then I could just pull this china cabinet over here. It's going to go right on the corner. So if I'm not happy with it, anytime you come around that last corner, everything is going to have to come together and it may not be perfect. So in hindsight, I wish I would have started right up to this edge. So think about that whenever you start your project. The least obvious place, if you got a big piece of furniture that's going to go in a corner, that's a great place to start, but I would start at the end of a wall. I have my top board covered so I don't accidentally get any paint on that. I've got my stencil, the level, and I make sure it's pressed down to make sure that stays level. You don't have to wash the stencil every time. I've only cleaned it like twice in this whole project. So I come over here to the last area that was dry. I'm just going to line up with that. So just kind of line up to the same areas, and then I look at my level and I might adjust, like I'm going to go down just a hair So you're doing both of those things. You're trying to get the bubble on the level, but also make sure that it's lined up with what you've previously painted. And sometimes you have to choose. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's either going to be level or it's going to be lined up, you know, because like I said before, this is not perfection, so it won't always be perfect. But your eye is not going to be, you know, not even going to notice those little imperfections. I put that painter's tape there just to hold this in place. And I always keep some extra painter's tape, like here you see on my ladder. I've got some extra ones that I've torn off, so I have just, you know, real handy. I can grab an extra piece if I need it. And also, I have some little bitty tiny pieces torn off that whenever I'm going on to a section that's already been painted, I can put that in between on the, you know, like on a white spot, okay? Just used a spoon and put some paint on my paper plate. Then I have a paper towel on this paper plate. You just dab a little bit on the roller, and then you roll it here. So you don't want your foam roller to be wet. It's going to be, you know, pretty, almost dry, okay? So I always start next to the, oops, my roller came down while I was gone. That happens sometimes. My stencil came loose. So let me stick that back in there. Okay, so I'm not going to repaint this area that I've already done. You're just going to come over to the next spot. And you kind of roll different directions. You could do this a couple times, just to kind of make sure you get in all the corners. And I also have that painter's tape down here so it doesn't accidentally get on that other wall and then room next door. So it really is pretty easy. And oh, you need to have a practice session before you do this on your actual room. Like I took a section in the garage and I painted the base coat because you have to paint your base coat first and let that dry. And so I did that same thing in the garage and I painted my base coat and then I practiced my top coat. And I found out that what I was stenciling with, it was like a silvery, metallic silver paint. And I didn't like it. It was real hard to work with and you could kind of see through it. So I was so glad I did that practice in the garage first. And then I chose a different paint. I didn't end up using that paint at all. You could also practice if you have like a piece of drywall or even just a cardboard box, anything, but you do need to practice your technique before you go to your actual wall. Keep on losing that. All right, we're gonna get a little bit more paint. So you don't get a whole lot for each roller, you know, it doesn't go a super long distance, and then you just have to reload the paint. So I just rolled the rest of that, and now I'm gonna take this off, and you just wanna do it kind of quick. You wanna pull away kind of quick. Oh, and I wanna point out, I've got a mistake here. I've got a little bit of gray on there. So we'll see whenever we do my next one over if it covers, and if it doesn't, then I'll just touch up on that with the white paint.